Hi there, my name is Shelley Bailey Shaw, and I'm the Public Communications Officer for the Beaverton School District. I want to welcome you to our second Q&A session, this one focused on the Flex Online School option. We know you all have a lot of questions, so we're going to try to dive in as quickly as possible. But first, I need to give you some guidelines about just how to submit your questions. You may post questions either in the thread on the post on Facebook or in the live chat feature on YouTube. Please do not post feedback or commentary in these areas. Our staff is combing through and pulling the questions as quickly as we can. And when they're mixed with commentary, it's a lot more difficult to do that. We're going to invite you to give feedback at the end of this session. And so that's the time we'll ask you to make those kind of comments. Also, please don't post a question in a DM or reply to another question online. We won't be checking those. And tonight is only for Flex Online School questions. If you have a question about our general return to school plan, we would invite you to come to a session like this tomorrow night at 7 o'clock when we'll be addressing that. So to get started, I'd like to introduce John Pepolinski from, he's the Administrator for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and he's gonna get us started tonight.
All right, thank you, Shelley, and good evening, everyone. I wanted to start this session about Flex Online School with just a few general items, and I'll turn it over to Paul Autumn, who will be our administrator for the program. So first of all, I wanted to just really stress that we're not trying to sell anything. We're not trying to compete with other BSD schools. We are not a profit-based organization. We are part of the Beaverton School District. These are all our students, and we want to provide options for all of our students. And this is one of the options moving forward. In the BSD equity policy, there's a bullet, I think bullet number 9. It says district will provide multiple pathways to success in order to meet the needs of diverse student body. And to this point, Beaverton School District has offered learning option programs, several of them. We haven't offered an online option, even though we've received multiple requests for that every year. And so we had always been planning on doing this. The pandemic has kind of accelerated our timeline to do this. So we've been studying this, researching this, and planning this for several years, and are finally moving forward with it. And, even though we're starting this online program and we're 100% behind it, we believe that the best instructional model for students is face-to-face in school with teachers. And that's kind of, we want to do everything we can to provide an option for those parents who want that online option. But, our philosophy is behind teachers. And like any school, teachers are the most important part of the school, and this includes online. While the curriculum we will be implementing is designed to be implemented in an online format, it's our teachers who will make the difference in that success of that program. And we, in Beaverton, we are able to hire and retain quality teachers, and I think that will be a big difference for us in Beaverton with Flex Online School. One final point, and we all realize how stressful this is for families and how difficult it is to try to work all day and be an instructional parent, an instructional coach, a teacher at home. We totally understand that, but we want to be very upfront with saying, in order for this program, any online program, to be successful, parents, guardians, or other caregivers in the household need to provide support for the child and the student. So we can't stress that enough. We will be there to coach you in how to do that and provide support. But in the end, can't stress enough how essential parent support is. So with that, with my points there, I want to introduce Paul Autumn. He's the BSD Flex Online School Administrator, and he will talk a little bit more about some details about the program and where you can find additional information. So Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Shelley. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. My name is Paul Autumn. I'm the principal for Flex Online School. I've been with the district for 14 years and started my educational career teaching computer science and business classes at Aloha, Southridge, SST, and Westview High Schools. I also taught information systems in the online hybrid format as an adjunct professor at PSU for 5 years. In 2012, I was hired out of the classroom to start the district's online programs. Our current program is funded by the High School Success Act, otherwise known as Measure 98, which limits us to part-time for eligible 9th through 12th grade students only. The inability to serve families in our boundary looking for a full online option drove our decision to open an online school. Our plan was to open in the fall of 2021-22. COVID simply sped up the timeline. As John pointed out, our school is not for everyone. We are a permanent online school for families who would choose this format regardless of COVID-19. There are 3 main reasons families choose online school. First, schedule. If a traditional school schedule is a burden or difficult to manage for a family. Second, location. Your neighborhood school can't provide the courses that you're looking for. Third is well-being. Your student isn't successful or thriving in a traditional classroom setting. Online school is also a partnership. A learning coach, which is usually a parent, guardian, or relative, should be available to work with or support the student about 4 to 6 hours per day. The younger the student, the more time is going to be spent side by side supporting. Also, students need a structured daily schedule and a dedicated workspace. As the spouse of a district high school teacher and the father of a district middle schooler, I have felt the impacts of the COVID-19 closure firsthand. I share many of your concerns about what happens in the fall, and I look forward to answering your questions about our school. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. And we also have joining us Chris Harvey Fultz, who is with our special education department, and he's going to be able to address any questions you have in that regard. So we're going to get right into it. I know you have a ton of questions, and I'm just going to remind our panelists to try to keep their answers concise so that we can get through as many questions as possible. Pat, the first one is for you. Why would a student choose to enroll in Flex Online School over one of the online charter schools in the state of Oregon? They want you to make your case.
Well, I have to go back to not selling, but this one I actually feel very strongly about, and I will sell this. It goes back to our Beaverton teachers, and we will be using Beaverton teachers. We attract great talent in this district for many, many reasons, and that alone will push us over the edge with other programs. So I'm going to leave it with that.
All right, thank you. How will grading work if one switches from Flex to the CDL or the comprehensive distance learning model that we have in the hybrid system? Paul?
Thanks, Shelley. We are bound by the same grading requirements as everybody else in the school district. And so we will be following the guidelines from ODE in the fall. Currently, it looks like we're hoping we will be grading just like the regular schools will be. And so we should be able to, somebody should be able to transition between the two.
Great, thank you. Hey, Chris, this one says, how will IEPs be honored with Flex?
Yeah, Flex is a school offered in Beaverton. So if your student has an IEP, Flex will offer resource room level supports to students. So if you're interested in Flex and your student receives supports beyond what's offered in a resource room, which is the placement that's offered in all of our district schools, you would want to consider calling an IEP meeting and meet with your team to determine if your student's needs could be met in the Flex Online system or Flex Online school. Other students, there are IEPs that may not be able to be met in that setting due to the number of services and supports a student needs, but it will be a resource room level support staffed with our resource room level teachers.
Great, thank you. Next question, I would like to know if this curriculum will follow along with the regular school curriculum to best help our kids to be able to go back to school the following school year. Pep?
Yeah, I'll have Paul weigh in if we need more details, but we will follow the same learning targets and standards by grade level as all of our school do. So theoretically, when we have our curriculum, even though it may be a different curriculum, we're still working on the same learning standards as other classrooms are. We just may be using different curriculum or materials to do so. And so when our students go through fourth grade, for example, they work on the fourth grade learning targets for fourth grade. And theoretically, by the end of fourth grade, they will be ready for the fifth grade, or no matter what program they're in.
Paul, what if you had a situation where you had someone, let's say who was in high school and they went the first semester with Flex, but then they wanted to transfer back to the regular high school? They're taking, American Lit or some other year-long class. Will they be able to transition back easily?
Yeah, we feel like they will. The year's experience I've had with our other program, our current BSD Flex program, we were able to manage that transition between several courses because, as John pointed out, we're really learning target focused. And so we know what the targets that are going to be covered are, and we can then pick that up if they were to come to Flex or return back to the school.
This is an easy one. Will Flex Online use Canvas or Parent View like other schools?
Yes, most definitely. We are Canvas all the way through. We're a little different. We're Canvas K-12. But yes, it's all the same systems that any Beaverton School District student and family would access.
I'll throw this one to you as well. Will students be permitted to work at a faster pace than the standard curriculum pace?
Yes, just like any student, if a student is able to achieve mastery and move forward, we're not going to restrict them and we're going to let them move forward in their learning. So absolutely.
Pep, how much of the interaction on Flex is one-to-one with the teacher?
It will vary by students. When we do online school, I explained this earlier at the earlier session, the learning is highly personalized. And so students can work at their own pace and have a schedule that works for them and their family. So when they do an online one-to-one session with the teacher, it's usually pretty much tailored to what that student needs at the point. It could be one-to-one, could be small group, or could be the whole class. If the teacher's sensing that the class isn't picking up on a certain concept, they'll pull the whole class in. But generally, and Paul can back me up on this, it is driven by the student's achievement and pace.
Okay. And then the Flex Online, will they be using Zoom type calls as classes, Paul?
Yeah, we're definitely going to have a video conferencing platform. Zoom is one of the ones we're looking at. It'll be required both from an attendance standpoint, and as we've experienced in the years we've had the other Flex program, school doesn't really work without face-to-face personal interaction several times a week. So absolutely.
And this parent wants to know how big the classes at the elementary level will be.
We don't know that yet. We have enrollment applications coming through. We're following a very similar model to the rest of the schools, and so we don't expect them to be significantly different in student-teacher ratio. So we'll know once we have all the staffing and the numbers of applications that are confirmed.
Okay. And Pep, who would you say that, what kind of student is the best fit for Flex?
Right. Well, Paul identified a few in his opening comments, but in general, and this varies, each student is different. In general, students who are able to either by themselves or with some coaching on the side, structure time and be able to stay consistent with accessing the curriculum and following through. That's number one. If they can't do that or don't have someone to help them guide with that, it's really difficult because then they fall behind and they get off pace and then they have catching up to do. So I would say that's number one. Number two would be ability to, persevere for longer periods. It's not a in-class experience where they have options to be distracted, sometimes in a good way. So they have to be able to persevere on a task for age appropriate time lengths, but nevertheless, they need to stick with it.
Great. Chris, I haven't forgotten you're sitting there, but I don't have a question for you yet, so hang in. Paul, will SUMA be offered with Flex?
No, students and families who wish to have the SUMA program should remain with their current school and take advantage of comprehensive distance learning or the hybrid option.
The next question has to do with IB classes, and I'm guessing your answer is the same.
Correct. Yeah, we are not currently able to offer IB, and we would encourage families to stay with their IB school. We will have AP courses, but not IB.
Okay. Next one has to do with the grouping. It says, will students be grouped geographically, i.e. with current classmates or nearby school children that choose the Flex option?
Our current applications are literally spread throughout the entire district, and so we don't have a plan to group them geographically at this point. And again, part of that's going to be dependent on what happens with the COVID restrictions. But in the future, our goal would be to have students be able to interact in safe ways. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll keep with you here. Flex Online, how does it address the needs of TAG students?
We will follow the same guidelines, identification that we do for any district school. We'll work with our TAG facilitators and coordinators at district office, and we will offer the same extensions that students would receive in the regular school setting.
Pat, this one's for you. What was the selection process that you undertook to arrive at Florida Virtual as your online platform for elementary? We haven't mentioned it yet, but Florida Virtual is the elementary platform and Apex Learning is for high school.
Right. I'm gonna actually defer to Paul. He led the research group that researched the curriculum for the elementary, and so he knows who's on the team and can describe that process.
Yeah, thanks, John. We invited teachers and district TOSAs, and we actually had interviews with families in Colorado and Oklahoma and other district leaders. Over the years as the online specialist, I've vetted many curriculums, and after that team went through, we created a rubric and basically went through the chart and selected it based on that feedback.
Gotcha. This other one, this is a question that came up a lot in our previous session. What is the difference between Flex and comprehensive online learning? That is the online 100% at the time, but connected to your elementary school, the option that we're giving under the hybrid method.
Yeah, the comprehensive distance learning means that you retain connection to your local school. It's a temporary situation based on COVID restrictions, and it's designed for families who are hoping to join back with their school once the COVID restrictions are lifted. Flex Online School really is the same as it would have been before COVID, which is for families that it's a best fit for. They're looking for a permanent online option. That's what our program is about. So really it's, I'm looking for a temporary option. That's where comprehensive distance learning, and I want to stay connected to my school, or really this is the right fit for me, and that's what Flex would be.
And am I correct in that comprehensive online learning, you'd be learning with your regular elementary school teacher?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. We touched on this a little bit, but maybe we can break it down by grade level. How many hours per day will parents be asked to help their students with Flex Online schooling? So obviously younger ones are going to need more assistance, but can you kind of break it down elementary, middle, high?
Yeah, on average overall, it's about 4 to 6 hours is what a family should expect. And that's K through 12, time spent on schooling. As far as the support that a parent provides, the younger the student, the more they're going to need to be, that's what I refer to as side by side, enabling the curriculum to work. A lot of our curriculum for the younger grades is offline. And so they will spend a smaller percentage, anywhere from 20 to 35% of the day would be spent on the computer. And then as the students get more independent, the amount of coaching goes down and the amount of time spent online goes up.
Gotcha. Another one for you. This one has to do with whether or not there'll be extracurricular opportunities or clubs for Flex students.
We're definitely going to provide clubs. I was a club mentor myself at the schools I was at and love clubs, and and feel they're really important for connection to the school. As with all schools right now, it's probably going to be virtual clubs. As far as activities go, students are still allowed to utilize the activities like athletics at their neighborhood school.
That was actually the next question on the list. So you anticipated that. Great. Let's see. This one has to do with, will a fifth grade tag student attending Flex be invited to take SUMA qualifying exam in the fall? I'm assuming that they would be able to do whatever you normally would be able to do in the district.
Correct. Yeah, we're just another district school. Yep.
Okay, great. Will Flex have accelerated math or Spanish?
Yes, we're definitely going to have accelerated math is already a part of the curriculum catalog that we have. Spanish is available as well, but we can't really say now until we know what staffing looks like, because obviously we would need to have a properly endorsed Spanish instructor.
And as I understand it, Flex does not support dual language. So if you're in a dual language school, you should, and looking for an online only option, you should go with comprehensive distance learning.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. Pep, this one says, when do we need to finish registration and apply on Flex Online? Maybe we can talk a little bit about the deadline and why the deadline is maybe earlier than some people would like.
Yeah, we realize that there's a lot going on with parents and having to make decisions about this, not knowing fully what the other options look like. We hope those get more fully developed in the weeks coming up here before the deadline. The deadline for application, at least the one we set initially, is July 24. And the reason we have to have that fairly soon is because we need to know how to adjust staff within our district. We're not getting additional staff to provide the teachers for Flex. We will have to look at overall school enrollment, school by school, and adjust other schools' enrollment to pull teachers to support Flex. And the sooner we can do that, the better. That way, school principals know what their staffing level is. They can work on schedules, and we can also do the same. So yeah, it's early, you know, in a more perfect situation, we would have done this a long time ago, and we would like the other option schools, and we would know what we were working with. But this is not a normal year by any means, and so we're trying to accelerate things. And so we will take a look at the applications on July 24th, see what we have there, and hope to provide the most flexibility with that is possible. The other question that will come up with that, I'll just help you. What if a parent signs up for Flex just once, and then as we go on through summer, the hybrid model or the comprehensive distance model at the school becomes more clear, and they like that. We'll have a date for that as well. It won't be July 24th. We'll have a confirmed date. Hope to be as flexible and as late on that as we can, so parents can make that selection. But then again, you know, we have to consider if we have a lot of parents choose Flex and then decide not to, that's very disruptive with staffing, and we have to apply different staffing formulas again. So
so in other words, if you're seriously interested, make sure you apply by July 24th.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
That's why you're doing that job.
You're doing a great job, Pep. A great job. Can you take this one as well? Will applying to Flex remove my child from the wait list for their desired option school? In this case, base.
You know, I saw that question earlier, and I'm gonna find that question out. I don't know for sure about the wait list. We know if they apply for an option school, yes, they forfeit their spot there. I'm not sure about the wait list. I think in a typical year, we'd say yes, they were choosing a different option, so now they're in this program. But this year is not a typical year, and so we'll have a discussion of that with the Learning Options Administrator.
Okay, and we should note that as we get answers to some of these questions, we'll be updating the FAQ on our website. So always be checking there to see the latest answers to your questions. This next one, Paul, how will elective classes be accounted for?
Yeah, the catalogs that we currently have elective offerings in them already. And so we'll be able to provide those again based on the endorsements of the instructors we have hired. Occasionally we will be able to modify or create our own curriculum, which we've done in the past with our Flex program. And so we'll offer as many as we can. If they were a specific elective that is really conducive to, for instance, culinary or woodshop, we would probably encourage a family to stick with comprehensive distance learning and with their home school.
Okay, great. Chris, how you doing?
Living
Yeah,
the
good.
dream. I'm
All
great.
right, good. Haven't forgotten about you. This next question is Flex I can't say this word. You know what I mean. At the same time or at the time of your choosing, and they want to know the percentage breakdown between the two. And you can say those words that I can't get out of my mouth right now.
Yeah, thanks very much. So asynchronous meaning that it's not happening live, and then synchronous meaning it's happening live at the same time. There will be opportunities each week for live sessions. We have to stress this is not traditional schooling done on a computer. In other words, we're not going to log in every period and have an hour-long session. That doesn't work for online learning for online schools. And so there will be interaction live, and there also will be times when they're off the computer or interacting with the curriculum or working on a project. As far as the specifics of breakdown, it varies from age. Teacher planned and guided learning for K through 3 is about an hour to an hour and a half a day. 4 to 8 is about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. 9 through 12, 2 to 3 hours a day. And then what we would call independent learning and practice across the board is 1 to 2 hours per day. The K through 5, there's more time for what we call wellness, like breakfast, lunch, rest, connection, support, about 2 hours. Whereas in the 6 to 12, because the learners are more independent, that time is embedded throughout.
Great. We continue to get this question repeatedly. We've answered it already, but I'm just going to quickly say that IB is not offered with Flex. So next one, will Avid be a part of Flex?
I'm actually working right now with the Avid district coordinator. Currently, we don't have a need. Our applications, I believe we have 1 student who is identified in Avid. So it will depend a little bit on the applications that we get. If we had enough demand, we would certainly work with our coordinator to see what we could provide.
Okay. And this has been addressed, but talking about the ability to change from Flex back to comprehensive, and we're asking that you do that at the end of a semester or the end of the year when there's a natural break in the curriculum, correct?
Absolutely. Anytime moving from any school, the semester break is the least disruptive. You know, we would encourage families to stay at that minimum.
This has been addressed in a roundabout way, but will health careers be offered with Flex?
We won't have the health career option as part of what Flex is doing, and that's same kind of a thing with those specialized programs. We would encourage you to do comprehensive distance learning with your current school.
Pep, will seniors who choose Flex still graduate or get a diploma from their home high school, or will it say Flex Online School?
Once they join Flex Online School, they're part of Flex Online School, and their diploma would be awarded by Flex Online School.
Okay. And then this question has to do with enrollment caps. Do we currently have enrollment caps at each grade level? And how many people overall will be accepted?
We don't have caps either way. Like we mentioned before, we have kind of an estimate of what we think our application pool is going to be, but we know it'd probably be more than that now that we've seen the applications come in. So we don't have a set cap. We don't have caps at the grade levels. Paul mentioned this before. We will be staffed like any other school according to the ratios. And so, you know, our elementary ratio will match other schools' elementary ratio. So we'll follow the guidance that that model provides us, and we'll get those staffed like that.
It's actually the next question about staffing, about how many students per teacher. So you're saying that it would be similar to a classroom in the neighborhood of 25, 30?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. You know, in our district, we don't have caps on any classes. There's a ratio overall for the school and the grade level, and then the principal's job is to decide how to distribute the staff they get by the grade levels. And so it could be just like in an elementary school, you get certain numbers where we call them bubble numbers, where it's not enough for 2 teachers, and another grade level is not enough for 2 teachers, and so you blend. So we have the ability to do some multiple grade blending if that's the case. But we have more flexibility in how we address students and groups when we're online and not in a brick and mortar school. So we will do our best job to. I can't imagine, and Paul agrees with me on that. There's having an online chat or a group meeting where we have 30, 40 kids on it. We at any point we'll try to break it down into smaller groups.
Okay. Paul, for a student who completes the Flex curriculum quickly, does she move into the next grade when in-person school returns?
The requirements for the school, if they're referring to Flex Online, yeah, we would just move them along the continuum based on their mastery of what they've done. If you're talking about returning back to a traditional school, they would follow the normal requirements that traditional school would have.
Okay, I think that's what the question is asking.
Okay.
And then it asks, are there any plans to incorporate Spanish 2?
So
like Spanish level 2?
Yeah, if we are fortunate enough to have a Spanish instructor, because we have enough student and we're able to hire that way, most definitely, yeah. Our Spanish curriculum currently goes all the way through AP. So it's just a matter of us getting the properly endorsed instructor.
So the next question is asking for a comparison, Pep. Does hybrid, comprehensive distance learning, or flex provide the most teacher contact? Which one provides the most teacher contact?
Well, not knowing fully what the hybrid and comprehensive distance model is determined yet, it's hard to really give an answer to that. We'll probably have to let those plans get flushed out a little bit more. My initial response would probably be the models attached to the school would probably provide more in-person, simply because online school is just designed differently the way the curriculum is. But again, I'll have to wait and see what they come up with.
Okay. Paul, I like the phrasing on this next question. How on earth does this work for a kindergartner?
Yeah, great question. We've actually talked to instructors, online instructors in other states that teach kindergarten. They say the biggest issue really is the transition for the family. Anytime they start something new or different, learning the routines and how it works from the home side. But we've actually not heard anything about kindergarten not being as successful as any other grade. The kindergartners will spend a lot less time on the physical device and a lot more time doing projects and practicing off the computer. But we're confident based on our research and what we've done that it's going to be a good experience for kindergartens.
And this next question, I think I can answer. It says, given that students choosing the hybrid option do not have school on Wednesdays, will the flex option also only have 4-day school weeks? Just to clarify, in the hybrid option, you are going to school 5 days a week. You're 2 days in school and then 3 days online. So it is a 5-day a week schedule, and the same for flex. Next one is, will students be able to communicate with other students?
Yes, our Canvas LMS learning management system allows discussion boards where students can communicate with each other through the discussion board. We won't offer a direct connection that's through the district for safety and privacy reasons, but we will have both live via video conferencing, breakout rooms or conversations that are moderated by the instructor, and then through discussions in the learning management system.
Okay. This one says, can we only do the same AP classes we forecasted for in BSD?
We have a selection of AP classes in the catalog, which is not all of the same options that are offered in the schools. So I would have to know the specific ones that person's asking about before I could answer that one. Mhm.
And the next one, in case we're having people join us who didn't hear the previous answers, asking about SUMA, but again, SUMA is not through Flex. You're gonna wanna opt for comprehensive distance learning, correct?
Absolutely correct. Yep.
Okay. This says, is Flex self-guided or will there be assigned dates and times where the children will need to be online? I know we've approached this question on different ways, but we're going to keep answering it so that people are real clear.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that answer. The first one is that all of our courses will come with a pacing guide, and the pacing guide basically will help families and students know how they're progressing through the course to finish on time. And so there'll always be some way in the system to see how they're doing and progressing. The second part of that question is, because of that, we're going to have multiple times per week for the instructor to check in with the students and monitor the progress and ask if they need support. And so, yes, there'll be live sessions, and yes, the tools will be there to help parents and families know where they're at.
And this next one's a very specific math question. So I'm going to test your knowledge of the curriculum here. How do you map the secondary math classes in Flex Online, AGS 1, 2, and 3? Don't see AP Calc BC on the course catalog. So does that mean Flex is not an option if you want that class?
Yeah, so the first part is the AGS 1, 2, 3 sequence is the Common Core Math 1, 2, 3. Beaverton School District chose to name them AGS, but we offer the same curriculum through Flex. They're just named differently. So we'll have the same sequence as the regular schools do. As far as AP Calculus BC, it's not currently available from any of our providers. So it would be up to our instructor to either have curriculum available. But at this point, I would say we're probably not going to offer BC, and it would be instructor dependent.
Okay. And then this one is somewhat related. When will the course offerings be finalized? Before the 24th?
We can finalize the catalog, because we know what's available in the catalog, but until we have the instructors fully hired, we can't finalize. So we're going to have to wait until our instructors are hired and we know what endorsements and they have.
And that's really dependent on enrollment. So it's kind of chicken and egg, right?
Yep.
Okay. Can students work ahead and possibly graduate early?
We would follow the same rules for graduating early as any other school does. And so they have to put that plan in place and follow the normal plan that a student graduating early would do. There's no question we'll be able to allow students to accelerate their learning or work through courses at their mastery level. But as far as graduating early, we'll follow the same procedures that district schools do.
And people are asking Pep a little bit more about describing live instruction, especially as it relates to the APEX curriculum. Just describing a little bit more about what that looks like and time-wise. Paul, you two chime in.
Yeah, Paul will chat in on this. We do have on the Flex webpage a link to tutorial and a preview of the curriculum. So I would encourage parents to go to the website, click on the academic programs link, look at secondary curriculum and Apex. We have some links to that and they can see it in action. But Paul, follow up, please.
Yeah, thanks, John. As far as day-to-day goes, again, the general guideline for high schoolers is going to be teacher planned and guided, which could be live, synchronous, and could be asynchronous, but the teacher recorded a video or had prepared instructions that the students can follow. That's 2 to 3 hours a day. And then independent learning and practice is 1 to 2 hours a day. It's not going to be, we had a lot of questions and a lot of people asking about it happening live, like we're just teaching online during the day, and that's not generally going to be the case. It's going to be, the live sessions are there for support, clarification. If they know that students are struggling on a certain concept, they'll recover that concept, health and well-being, group interaction, those type of things.
Gotcha. We talked about social outlets for older kids, but this question is, are there any social options for elementary kids in the Flex program?
We do currently have a location, and we will have a location. And so potentially there would be the option, or we would provide a way for students to socially engage. It's going to be following the same restrictions that the schools have as far as the ability to do that. For the program we currently have, we have students that visit our location for one-on-one support or for interaction. And so we would hope to do the same things. We kind of have to wait for the guidelines to come out and to find out where our location is and what our capacity will be.
Chris, I asked you this question at the very beginning, but it's come up again. So in case we have people joining us, what is the difference between online comprehensive distance learning and the Flex online program, especially for a student with a learning disability, i.e. autism? Can a student with an IEP be fully online? So I know you covered the material, but let's say that again, just for those who are joining us.
No problem. Yes, so a student who has an IEP could participate fully online through either the comprehensive distance learning or the Flex Online model. The difference between those two things is Flex Online, being a separate school, has a resource room and has resource room level support. So if your student has an IEP and the placement is selected as resource room, it is likely we could provide that support through Flex Online. For supports beyond the resource room, so if your student is in a specialized program placement or has services that lift their placement beyond what's offered in a resource room, you would likely need to convene an IEP meeting and determine if those services could be met through Flex Online. But regardless, they could be met through comprehensive distance learning. Any student on an IEP could participate in full comprehensive distance learning attached to their attending school.
Excellent, thank you. This one, we already discussed about the AVID program, but this is a follow-up. If a student has already been accepted into the AVID program, would they need to apply, reapply to be part of the program through Flex Online?
Yeah, we don't currently have, like I said, we don't have enough demand at this point to be able to provide an AVID experience. So it might be the best in that case to stay with your comprehensive distance learning or hybrid option. If situations change, then we would approach it at that point.
Gotcha. This one has to do with, would students who are strictly on Flex be able to participate in their school? I'm assuming they mean neighborhood school activities, i.e. field trips, field days, pictures, art-lit assemblies, etc.
Yeah, so the activities wise, yes, as long as they're not credit bearing experiences, you can't be enrolled in both schools at the same time. As far as specifics on field trips and those, that's a great question. John, do you have any input on that one?
Again, it'll be, very much restricted due to COVID restrictions. So in the future, yes, we'll definitely organize, plan, and have field trips for the students, but this year is going to be very restricted in that regard.
This one says, the beginning of the question we've answered, but the second half of it, I don't think we've addressed. Can we only do the same AP classes we've forecasted for in BSD, or can we do more? If we do more, do we have to pay for it? And will it be counted with the GPA?
Yeah, so we would weight the GPA similar to any school in the district, and that's based on a formula for courses that are considered weighted. And so AP courses would weight your GPA just like at any other school. As far as paying for it, I assume they're talking about the tests.
Yeah, or would you have to pay extra to have more classes? I think that's how I'm reading this.
If you're trying to access more classes than a full schedule, yes, that would be at the family's expense.
Okay. And the next one is, how will teachers be chosen to work at Flex?
So there'll be a small pool that we're going to hire initially. And so they'll go through the standard interview process and apply for the positions. And then after that, we're not sure yet. We're going to have to wait to see how the staffing goes for the district.
And this one is asking, how different will the curriculum be from standard Beaverton School District curriculum? We've already laid out that it's a different program, but the learning standards targets themselves are the same.
Correct. Yeah. So the biggest difference really is that online curriculum is designed specifically to be delivered online. And so the way it's paced and how it's delivered is different. There are a lot of frequent checks for understanding and things that aren't normally included in an in-class setting because of the online curriculum allows that facility. And so we won't follow lockstep with the scope and sequence that happens in the classroom, but we are matching the same targets. We're just covering them in a different way.
This one says, are all students in the same classes by grade level? I'm assuming here that we're talking about maybe high school students where you might have a 9th or 10th grader who's taking a more advanced class that typically would have 11th and 12th graders in it. I assume it just depends on the class.
Exactly right. It followed the same model that happens in the high schools where you'll have student classes that are mainly a same grade and then some where there's a mix. At elementary level, we will do it based on numbers, and we may have a mix, based on the staffing, like what John talked about. Maybe they were just on the edge of not enough or too many.
Chris, this says for special education students, will they be mainstreamed or in a specialized remote classroom?
So like when they attend their comprehensive school, if a student is attending Flex, they would be mainstreamed and they would receive their supports likely in a pull-out model meeting with a resource room teacher separate from their core content classes.
Thank you. This one says, will students who are inter-district transfers that pick the Flex options still have a seat at BSD the following year, or will they have to reapply?
Yeah, once they're enrolled in the district, then they're as long as they retain their enrollment in the district, they would stay at Beaverton School District and Flex Online student.
Okay. And then this also has to do with enrollment. It says, how do you enroll if you just moved into the district?
Great question. We have to get that a lot. The process is, the first thing you need to do if you're not currently a Beaverton School District student is that you need to apply with your home school, your boundary school. Once you have, once you're actually enrolled in the district, at that point, then you can apply for our option program through the website.
Okay. I just lost the question, but it was, do colleges take Flex credit? I assume they do, given that it's a regular online option high school.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
You talked a little bit about how you chose Florida virtual. Can you kind of give us the same rundown via Apex Learning, which we use for the high school classes?
Yeah, we've used Apex in the school district since 2011. And so we have a lot of experience using that program. We've also, in my time as the online learning specialist, I actually purposefully invited competitors in. And so we've actually run it against competing products, and we've always come back to the same one. And it's a combination, excuse me, of the rigor. We like the quality of the curriculum and then the supports that are built in. And that's almost exclusively based on teacher input. So we ask teachers, and that's what they've said.
And this one has to do with teachers, asking if you'll be hiring teachers from within the district, or if you'll be looking for teachers outside the district as well.
In our original posting, it will be internal and external, but our goal certainly is, as John has pointed out, is to hire Beaverton School District teachers. We think they're the best, and so we expect to be pretty much staffed that way.
In comprehensive learning, how can students take the pre-SAT or ACT tests that would normally be offered through their high schools?
So are you asking about comprehensive learning or through Flex?
I'm sorry, Flex.
Yes, yeah, so we'll have availability for those tests, and we'll either coordinate with the neighborhood school or we'll have them at our location. Again, with testing this year, it's a little different. We're not sure what's going to happen with those for proctoring, but yeah.
Pep, if we could lay this out again, we're getting quite a few questions about just kind of the terminology we're using in defining what does hybrid mode mean, what does that include, and how that differs from Flex Online. So maybe we can kind of lay that out for people again.
Sure, yeah. We need to play your video again.
I know. You have to tune in tomorrow at 7 to see the video.
Or check it out online. It's online.
That's right.
But the hybrid, as the word implies, it's doing two of things. So you're in school some of the time and learning at home some of the time. The comprehensive distance model from the school implies that all of your learning is done at home. It's done through the school with the school's teachers, but at home. So both the comprehensive and hybrid are going to be following the same curriculum, same kind of philosophy of designing it first to be an online accessible curriculum. Even though you're in hybrid, everything the teachers will do will be designed to be delivered and received by the student in an online fashion. When they come to school, they will get help with that, get in-person help with the work, perhaps get some extensions on that if they're doing really well, time to check in with their teachers. And so that's how the hybrid comprehensive work. Flex is its own thing. It's just 100% online, even though, as Paul has indicated, that doesn't mean everything a student does is on the computer. It's delivered and facilitated via interaction with the computer, but that student will do work, paper, pencil, or otherwise.
We should also note that the reason the hybrid model starts online, is it has its core online, is we have to be prepared to go fully online if we have to due to COVID, if we're directed to by the Oregon Department of Education. So that's why we're set up in that way right now. Chris, it says, can you elaborate on the term resource room for special, or can you elaborate on resource room for special education students? And it's also asking, will it be for all special education students in Flex from all grades?
Okay, yeah. So when I say resource room, all of our schools in Beaverton offer a resource room. That's a special education teacher that in our schools is likely providing pull-out service. It could be in reading, writing, math, behavior, self-management, organization, any of those skills. But a resource room is our least restrictive placement, meaning that the majority of the time those students are still in their mainstream courses with their general education peers. And that's the model we would run at Flex. There would be a resource room teacher who is there to provide specially designed instruction that's outlined in the IEP for students in a pull-out model, either through a scheduled block of time within their schedule or working one-to-one with the teacher, dependent on how many students there are at that grade level. That's something we will work out after we know enrollment numbers for sure. And resource room support would be provided at all levels, K-12 for any student on an IEP. And that goes the same for students in comprehensive distance learning. Any student in distance learning on an IEP will be provided their services as well.
Perfect, thank you. I have a couple one-off questions here that I'll just do real quickly. Will Flex Online be offered by different teachers than the neighborhood school teachers? The answer is yes. Is the school attendance optional or mandatory for the hybrid model? It's mandatory for hybrid and it's mandatory for Flex. Attendance will be taken. Is Flex free? The answer is yes, yes, and yes. And then this question, if my child wanted to do Flex, does the school provide the computer for them to use? Paul, can you address that? We haven't really touched on technology.
Yeah, great question. All 3rd through 12th graders will have a Chromebook supplied, and then we will have iPads for the K1 and 2 grades. So we will be supplying the computer or iPad, the Chromebook or iPad for families.
And if you currently have a Chromebook that you borrowed from your neighborhood school, we'll have an opportunity to return those in the fall. How and when how or when will high school students pick their classes?
Yeah, so as soon as we have, again, as soon as we have enrollment locked down, and we can start going through them with our counselor and decide what courses they need to follow the path toward graduation. And at that point, we'll have the full catalog available because we'll know what staffing we have.
And what mechanism is there for parents to be able to communicate with their Flex teachers?
Yeah, great question. Parents are automatically enrolled once they have a Parent View account. They're automatically enrolled in the Canvas as an observer. And so they can message instructors straight through Canvas, just like a student can, because it's a regular account. Our other systems also provide facility for what's called coaches. And so they'll get an automated progress report from the system. And so the normal modalities that anybody would use, a phone call or an email or through our learning management system, will still apply.
Okay. And says if we take AP and Flex, would it be counted as a weighted GPA, toward your weighted GPA?
Yeah, same rules as it would be in any school.
Okay. Now next one's a little complicated. I'm just going to read it the way it is. Since AP World History isn't on the list of APEX courses, will I have to take a different social studies course, or will AP World be offered in a class created on APEX by a teacher / Google Class / Canvas?
Yeah, so I'd have to, off the top of my head, I can't recall if AP World History is in the offerings. If one of the curriculum providers we use offer it, we will. And if they don't, then we probably would not start this year offering that course. So it's going to be dependent on the providers.
All right. So we've touched on this, but we're getting some questions where people are a little bit confused. So I'm going to read it one more time. Does Flex have teachers? Yes. I am confused. I thought Flex was self-study. And when you say you need to hire teachers for Spanish, I'm confused as to why you don't have them.
Yeah, we have to wait until we know how many students we're going to have before we know what teachers we have to hire and for what grade levels. And so, yes, we're going to have teachers just like any other school, and they'll be endorsed properly to teach just like every other school.
All right. And then I think we're wrapping up here with the last couple of questions. How many principals and counselors will you have?
Currently, we have just one principal, that's me. We follow the same allocation model that a regular school does. We don't expect to have more than myself. Same with counselors. At a certain number of student load, then counseling is increased, based on how many students they have to service. So currently it would be one counselor.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
This might be my favorite question of the evening, and I think it's a good one to end on. Have you chosen a school mascot?
That's a great question. If you ask my daughter, yes, she would say that we have one. No, we've actually researched far and wide across the country, and we have not found mascots at online schools. So we're still in process. I have an equity leadership group running right now, which has representatives from across the district. Eventually that will include family members and students, and we would want the students and family members to be a part of that decision. So we're going to wait on that.
I said it was going to be the last question, but I just saw one here I think it's important to ask that wasn't asked earlier. Will Flex offer any music courses or programs?
Yeah, currently the only music offering we have at the secondary level is music appreciation, which does require a music endorsed instructor. We will have to look toward the future to see what offerings we can provide in music. Right now, that's the only one we would be able to provide.
And one other thing that we haven't covered, PCC Early College, is that available for Flex students? Two different things, right?
Yeah, they would enroll. Yeah, so a student enrolling in the early college would enroll in early college, and a student in Flex would stay in Flex. As far as dual credit, like where you earn college credit, that's going to be dependent on the instructor qualifications.
Okay, great. We just have about 1 minute left here. John, Chris, Paul, any last things that you think are important that we haven't covered?
Well, I would just add real quickly, Paul mentioned, parent involvement eventually. And like any school, we will have an active parent community and we'll facilitate parent groups, whether it's we call it, parent teacher club or whatever we call it. We'll have involvement with parents and encourage that and want that, especially with the families from diverse backgrounds.
Actually, it's a question that was added later here in the list. It says, considering there are many undereducated and underserved families that have less access, how are we going to be serving those students in this environment? And Paul, maybe you can sort of end on that.
Absolutely. That's been the core of what we've done for years now. The population of the current online program we have is very diverse and has a lot of underserved families. And we've worked really hard with outreach and using culturally relevant practices and trying to involve families in the education and build relationships. And we'll continue that with this program. It's very important. It's the core of what we're doing. One thing, if you don't mind, I would like to add, because we've had a ton of questions about it. How do I cancel a Flex online application? It's very simple. Just email us, Flex Online School at Beaverton, and we will happily do that for you. Like John opened up with, we're not here selling anything. We want it to be a good fit for families. So,
Great. Chris, any parting thoughts?
Nope. If you have general questions, please feel free to call the special education office, or on our website, we have a general questions form. So if you have questions about special education for your student as it applies to Flex, please feel free to contact us and we will get back to you.
And one last thing that we haven't mentioned is access to the internet. So if you're a family who currently doesn't have access to the internet, Beaverton District has partnered with Comcast on a program where we will pay for basically your next 6 months of internet access. To find out more about that program, you just go online, go up to the banner where it says families, you pull down families, click on coronavirus, you go in there, and then there's a coronavirus or a community resource icon. If you click on that, you'll see listed how you can apply for free internet access. You do need to be qualified for free or reduced lunch to do that, but there are more details on the website, or you can call the district office. So if we have the graphic, we just want to put up some information about sessions that are upcoming. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we'll have another session similar to this that is strictly on Flex Online School. And then we will have a similar session on Wednesday that will be completely in Spanish. And then as far as the general return to school plan, we'll have a session tomorrow at 7, and then again, a Spanish session Wednesday at 7. So if you need more information, feel free to join us. One last thing, on our website today, we posted a frequently asked question page where there's additional information, and that's kind of a living document. And as we get more details about the return to school plan, we'll be updating that regularly. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we're all set and all done here. Thanks a lot.